Close. Close. There we go. Okay. In action. Oh, hey, we got a comment. Hey, Bill. Thanks. glad that you are on and this is working. Okay,
Okay.
Alex.
Cool.
Yep. Take it away. Take it away.
Okay, cool. So George invited me to give a product design workshop. It's just a 30-minute workshop, and then we can have some questions if there's a little bit of time. And I did this presentation in Bali for BitcoinSV, and although it was a BitcoinSV centric week, Jack asked me to if I could prepare a product workshop. I never done one before, but it turns out that people really liked it, and George insisted that it would be a very nice thing to talk about in your meeting in your meetup. So I'm going to talk about product design. I'm Alex Agut, and the CEO of Handcash. Is what we say is the Bitcoin wallet you can recommend. And well, we have teamed with Faya for our next phase in branding and marketing and building community and all this stuff. And so far it's been awesome. I wanted to say that before I start my presentation.
Excellent.
So the ones of you that already know me, you know me because of Handcash, but I've been working on other very interesting stuff that might be related to this stuff previously. And this was probably the startup that we learned the most. This is where I met Rafa, and we were working together on this with another guy and some other partners. And it was basically a sharing economy app for small tasks, and it was all location based. So basically, it was kind of a Twitter where you were asking, "Hey, I need help for, I need someone to take care of my dog this weekend, or I need someone to come to synchronize the TV channels for my grandmother." Small tasks that require very small payments, but when you're young and you're broke and you're in a college, it's cool to have another income stream. So we released this app, and it was pretty successful. We didn't raise enough too much money, but we got to the point that we had 15,000 users in 2 cities here in Spain, and people really liked it. But the first version didn't look like this. This was like the final version, the last version that we have, because for some reasons we couldn't find a good way of monetizing the thing soon enough. But people really like the product, and there are many lessons and things that we've learned along the way by building this not just this product but this company, and that is one of the bases of this talk. Then Rafa and I had when Pokemon Go was released, we wondered ourselves, why don't we use this technology, this location-based notification technology for a Pokemon radar for Pokemon Go? And we took the challenge and said, hey, but this has to be released in 4 or 5 days. So we designed, marketed, and launched the app in 4 or 5 days, and people really loved it. We had tens of thousands of downloads the first day, and the problem was that we were taken down by Google because we were not hacking their servers to do this, but we were actually hacking someone that was hacking their server. So yeah, we shouldn't be doing this. So we got a cease and desist letter from Google. But the thing is that with this, we learned how to actually be fast and effective by building a product in 4 or 5 days. And we learned how important is to be focused on the main feature of your app. So, okay, I'm going to start my talk now that I've done this brief presentation of myself. What is design? Some people think that design is about crafting beautiful buttons or making, selecting a very beautiful color palette. And well, that's part of design, but that's more aesthetics. By design, I really love the definition that the master himself, Steve Jobs, gave about design. And this is one of my favorite quotes from Steve Jobs. Shallow beauty in products doesn't serve people. Product design should strive for depth, for a beauty rooted on what a product does, not how it looks and feels. Objects should explain themselves. And I think it's a very important concept to know that good product design is not about aesthetics; it's about how it works, and that's the one of the main focuses of our credo of design ethos. So I'm going to divide this talk in three acts. In the first act, I'm going to describe the 5-step process that we always use in every product. And as we have this methodology, it's very fast to create new products this way. And then we will talk about 5 tips and 5 lessons that we've learned along the way. So Act 1, the process. Start with why. Um, Too often we see, especially in Bitcoin, we see there are many people that start with, I want to use this tool for creating this thing, or I want to create a sharing economy app. And then, you just start making up stuff on the way and trying to find use cases where your technology that you want to use makes sense. Actually, we found that the best way is to actually do the opposite. Is just to find first the use case or the need in the real world, and you see that you can target a very specific niche that's not being served, and then build your company around it. So it's very important to have a very clear why are you starting the design process. Okay, once you know the why, then there's a main feature or a main user flow that you want the users to accomplish. For Uber, it might be just to take a ride. For Airbnb, it might be to book an apartment. So you have to focus on nailing down that main feature and start just with that main feature. Don't start with, for example, Airbnb. They started with just booking, renting a spare room in some cities, whatever, and that's it. And they've been doing that for many years until they got the resources, and now they're more about the whole experience. They can they have other features that can enhance your experience, like planning trips to go watch a mountain with a hiker or something. And that's not the main feature of Airbnb, and that's not their main business revenue, and that's not the main why people are going to Airbnb.com to book their apartments. The third step is, okay, so who are you building this for? It's very important to have a very clear target in mind. And with time, in product design, we are taught about this thing about called personas that you have to kind of make up the ideal target. For example, for the Ford Fiesta of 2009, I was watching an interview, and one of the lead designers said that the persona that they had was an Italian girl that was called Francesca. She was 29, and she liked to party with her friends and all that stuff. That's one approach, but I think the one that works better is, instead of creating a persona, finding someone you already know that might be the target, but you already know his personality. For example, we are designing handcash for a guy called Carlos, which turns out to be one of my friends, one of my best friends from my childhood. And he's not a geek, he's not a technical guy by any means, but he plays video games, he plays online video games. He uses a lot of apps in his phone, and it's not that he's a geek, but he just like any regular person now that uses Uber or Airbnb or these kind of services, he is open to use new technology if it's enhancing his life. So we are modeling handcast around this because the first time that I showed handcast to Carlos, he said, okay, but how do I get money in? And I said, oh, you got to get to exchange, whatever, and buy the BSV and send the money there, and you pay a fee, and then and where can I use this? Nowhere really. There's nowhere that accepts Bitcoin, and I have to buy money to use it as money and pay all the fees, and also I have less compatibility. And I said, yeah. He said, that's nonsense. Why the fuck are you doing this? That's when, instead of giving up, I said, that's right. I mean, if we want Bitcoin to go somewhere, we have to actually make it useful for Carlos. We have to convince Carlos that this is a good technology that can enhance his life. Okay, then we get to the fourth step. Once you know why you're building this, and what's the main feature, and what are you building this for, you have to build a mockup and test the mockup. Building a mockup doesn't mean writing code at all. You can use, for example, we use this app that's called Adobe Xd, and it's awesome because it allows you to create it's pretty similar to PowerPoint in some ways, but it's you can create the UI, just dragging and dropping buttons and text and whatever. You can modify whatever you want, and it has already some if you want to adapt the UI to iOS, you already have the iOS development kit, and you can just drag and drop the UI elements there, and then you have this prototype phase where you can just drag and drop. When I touch this on the screen or when I drag this to the left, I want to go to the screen. So you are creating these kind of relationships, and when you press play, you actually can try out the app without even building it at all. So it's a very fast way to iterate, because then you can get this app, and in a mobile phone you can just show it to your target, guest to our Carlos, and see where he gets stuck, what messages don't work with him, why he doesn't get what he doesn't get of the app, what works, what doesn't, and then you can, in 5 minutes you change it again, see if the flow is better, and once you nail down the main feature, don't worry about the side features that you want to add and the settings and all that crap. Just focus on the main flow, booking a trip, or the main feature. Then is when you can start building an MVP. And building an MVP is actually building a product. And now we are talking about app development, but this can be applied to any kind of product design, even if it's physical product design. You have to build up minimum viable product. And that doesn't mean creating a crappy app that makes a lot of stuff, but creating a great app that just does one thing great, your main feature. In our case for Handcash, it was we just wanted to create an app that showcased if it was possible to make NFC transactions phone to phone. So we just, you got two phones and you just tap them one to another, and boom, the money was sent. So it's very important to build an MVP, because then you can test in real life if your hypothesis, if your target, once they have this MVP, if they like it, if they not, if you need to rethink it again, all over again, or if it's a very bad idea and you shouldn't be developing this at all. The good thing about this approach of this methodology is that you can actually do it in 1 week. You don't need, or maybe 2 weeks, but you can already test with real people, on Reddit or Twitter, whatever. You just give away the app and say, hey, just help me test this app and see if you like it. you done? Would you use it in your normal daily life? And this is the phase where you have to test your hypothesis, because up to this point it's all ideas that you think that people are going to like this, but maybe actually when you build it people don't like it, or they do, or they like the idea but they don't like the execution. But the faster you iterate is it's a more pain-free process. And okay, once you have the okay, it wasn't 5 steps then, but 6 steps. Oh, but this is not a step by itself. Is when you confirm that people like your MVP and like what you're doing. In this case, for example, our first version of Adobe or the first version of Handcast. Then you keep iterating. You have weekly scrums. It is that every week you have a list of, you product backlog things and to do things, and every week you have to decide. Okay, we have enough time to develop all these features, and then you just do it during that week. The, deploy an update and see the feedback, if everything goes well, if it doesn't work well, and then every week you keep iterating, you keep doing things. The key here is to be very agile, and there's a very good book about this methodology that I will tell you later. It's called Lean Startup, which is a great book, and Rafa told me about Lean Startup methodology, and it's great. It's the way we develop things. And so this is a tool that we recommend that's called Trello, and I think almost every startup uses Trello, which is a kind of a whiteboard for your daily, for your weekly scrums or monthly scrums or whatever, your to-do lists, so you can pull things from the product backlog to do to being done to review and done. So we have 5 columns ourselves in Handcast, but you can personalize, make it however you want. And okay, Act 2, 5 tips. These are 5 things that I would recommend doing, because I've seen that they're they actually work. And the first, for product design, and the first tip for product design is what we call smell the leather. And by smell the leather, I mean that you have to develop a very good taste of design. You have to learn how to appreciate a good design. This is, for example, the interior of a Rolls Royce. And I don't know if you've ever been inside of a Rolls Royce. I'm not rich by any means yet, but I would recommend you to go to automotive shows, and to go to expensive stores, go to Lamborghini store, whatever, and you just go inside and sit inside these cars, or go to a very luxurious furniture store and touch the material, see how everything fits, the house, the seams of the of the leather. You have to start to appreciate good product design. Okay, tip number 2, value first, and this is related to why do you have to start with why. Oftentimes, if you start with oftentimes or most times, if most of the time, if you start with choosing the tool first and then trying to figure out what to do with it, you might end up, oh, I have a hammer. Can I chop down a tree with a hammer? Oh, you probably can chop down a tree with a hammer, but it's not the best tool to do it. It might take many days to chop a tree with a hammer. So it's much better to, instead of choosing the tool first, just try to figure out what you need. Because if you want to hammer down a nail, you might need a hammer. But if you want to, I don't know, if you want to paint a wall, you won't start with a hammer. It's obvious, but I think most startups that don't succeed, this is one of the most critical elements. So, okay, tip number 3, reduce friction. There are many ways where you don't especially have to, for finding a niche, oftentimes you can just trying to find something that's very tedious and just reduce steps or reduce the friction of that process. And that can be a product by itself. Instead, if the average of the industry is that something takes like 10 steps to be completed, maybe you can figure out a way to make it in 3 steps or 4 steps, or make some choices for the user. After all, if people are going to use your product, part of it is that people are relying or trusting your company to make some choices for them. So don't be scared just to use some default settings or whatever, and just uh, in order to reduce friction, because people really value that. Tip number 4: speak human. This is an area that's very, that's very, it's very obvious, but for some reason, not every startup does it, especially when they are very technically oriented, in Bitcoin, for example, or in machine learning. Even if you are creating a product for engineers, engineers are also human. And the problem with not speaking human is that you might be using terms that you are using internally in your team, but that doesn't mean that that people outside your team necessarily are going to understand what you're talking about. So it's very important to use, it's not like that that your users are stupid and you have to dumb it down. It's in fact is that it's much better to assume that they are smart but busy. You cannot assume that even if you're super passionate about Bitcoin, that my friends or my mother is going to be as passionate about Bitcoin as you, and they're going to go through all this process about, oh, what's mining, what's a UTXO, what is, most people don't care about that. Tip number 5: predicting feels clever. So this is also, well, related to what I told you about making choices for the user. And products that feel like they are predicting your behavior, or that just tick some boxes for you automatically, they feel much better and clever. I mean, if you have a form, if you can use all these autocomplete form functions that you can, autofill your email, your name. It's very stupid stuff, but it makes your life much easier, and the product feels much better, and you get, less onboarding time. So every time you can predict that most people, like it happens in every sector, even in Bitcoin. People want to do one thing or two things with it, and most people, 80, 90%, 95% of people are always going to choose the same default setting for doing certain stuff. So why don't you just do it and don't ask them? Okay, now 5 lessons that we've learned, mostly through pain. We there are many frustrations when you start with your first products, and when you start with product design. It can get very frustrating by finding out these things that at some point you are going to rush into them. So lesson number 1 is that people don't read, they scan. And this was very painful for us, because when you think you have the great UI and that everything's super clear, and you say, "Oh my God, this UI is going to work, like a charm, because I've been trying it myself. I send it to my friends, whatever." But the thing is that people don't read, so it's very curious what happens inside the mind of a user when they enter an app. They have kind of an expectation of what they will be able to do based on previous experiences with similar apps. For example, if you enter an app that's for booking trips, they expect it to have a similar UI to other apps that they use to book their most recent trips. So if you change one feature from, that normally those features, are in structured in one way or have the bottom down or whatever, or you have some certain keywords. If you are not using those keywords and you are using other keywords because your flow is different, people are not going to understand the UI at first. And the last thing that they are going to do is to start reading. So the less text that you use, the better, because people are looking for keywords. So you have to learn which keywords people are looking for in other apps similar from the same sector, because you have to use those ones. And this is, it's very difficult to explain because it's also very hard to understand once you are in a startup. But once you deploy one of these, for example, with Joby, we were very frustrated because the app actually was, hey, you were supposed to say what you were looking for instead of what you were offering, okay? But people were like, oh, okay, so in all other apps, I just, in like classified apps, I say what I can do for others. So, I will do the same in Joby, although the UI didn't say that at all, and it wasn't structured to do it. People were just tapping buttons until they found a nice text box where they could write whatever it's in their head, even if it didn't make any contextual sense within the app. And it was very frustrating for us to narrow down the experience and to put all the constraints that we could. It was very difficult. It was probably the toughest lesson. Lesson two, cognitive load is a bit. And this is something that, it's a huge mistake that happens in almost every technical field. And I see a lot of parallels here with Bitcoin with electric cars. And I'm going to show you an example. So, well, first, let me tell you what cognitive load is. Let me define it. Cognitive load is your requirement for your users to learn new stuff in order to use your product. Okay, so this is how regular EVs. This is one of the most popular electric vehicles right now. It's the Hyundai Kona Electric. It's a great car. It's a great car. The problem is that all electric cars that are not Teslas. They are using all this jargon that nobody understands, like 64 kilowatt hours. Okay, what is that? Connector type J1772 and CCS combo. Okay, will I be able to plug it at home? Can I charge it? Where can I charge it? Charging time L1. What's L1? What is L2? 240 volts. What is that?
Why does that matter?
Because I know what volts are, but maybe my mother sees 240 V. What is 240 V? DC fast, 80% in 40. DC fast, 80% watts. So they are assuming that people understand what electric cars are and how they work and how they operate on a technical level, but people are not like that. So do you know why Tesla is so fucking successful now? See how they do it. This is the Model 3. Okay, you enter the website, you can see this. 310 miles, go anywhere with up to 310 miles of range on a single charge. Doesn't need any explanation. 15 minutes. Recharge 180 miles in 15 minutes at supercharger location. Super clear. And plus 14,000 superchargers placed along well-traveled routes around the world. Okay, so you know how long can you go on a single charge, how long it takes to recharge the car, and that there's a network that's called superchargers where I can plug this thing. I don't need to know if the connector is a J11276 whatever. It's a supercharger. Lesson 3.
A YouTube commentary.
Design is too important to be left to designers, by Raymond Levy. Raymond Levy is, to me, the best product designer of the 20th century. And if you haven't seen his work, it's awesome. He was the, well, he was. You might know him because he was the he designed the shape of the Coca-Cola bottle, for example, the Studebaker car, which was the most modern car in the 60s, and some very cool locomotives and homes and all kinds of stuff. This guy is a true genius. But he said, and he was a designer, and he said, design is too important to be left to designers. And that's one of the main reasons why I'm doing this presentation for Bitcoin or for a Bitcoin-oriented crowd. That most of them are developers, but all of them, or mostly all of them, are young entrepreneurs. And don't think that you need to hire a designer to build a great design, because it's just having a system. If you remember what I told you, design is not about how things look. That can come later. I mean, I've seen ugly UIs that they have a very good user flow and they are very informative to people. They give good feedback about what's going on, and they actually accomplish the main feature that they want to provide. Even though they're ugly as fuck, I don't care. I like them and I will use them because they provide me value. And that's all about. That's what it's all about. So design is something that's, everybody from the organization has to be part of the design process, because after all, you have to control your how people perceive what you're working on, the product. Don't underestimate the usability, because if people don't love the product, they are not going to use it. Lesson number 4: people hate change and choice, and this can also be applied to almost every area in life. People really don't like changes and having to choose. So if you are going to do changes in your product or in your business model, whatever, try to do it very gradually, because people don't take it very well. For example, I'm going to tell you a small story that happened with eBay, and it sounds ridiculous, but it actually happened. So eBay at first in the 90s, in the late 90s they had I don't know if you entered eBay by then, but it was a ugly yellow web page. It was very very yellow. It was very disturbing, that color, and they wanted to move away from the yellow because it was disturbing and make it more clear with white spaces and all that stuff. They changed it to white overnight, and the amount of people that were criticizing the new design, although they only changed the color background, they didn't change anything else. They changed it to white overnight, and people really hated it, and they were sending emails that now the website is unusable. I cannot find the buttons. It's a mess. I want the old design to come back. I don't know how to use this. And they just changed the white color, the yellow color to the white color. It was crazy. So one of the engineers actually had the idea of, he created a script that every day toned down the yellow, the saturation of the yellow until one day it was just white. And that worked. That worked. And, it's just a matter of making a gradual changes in your design or in your product. And lesson number 5, and this is very deep for me. And George is also a very, he also likes the teachings of the Tao. And I've been reading the teachings of, Lao Tse Jung and all this shit for many years, since I was a small kid. For some reason, I had one of these books at home, and I found it interesting. The yin yang symbol, and I've been reading all these poems for many years. But this is my favorite one, and I think this is something that can apply to product design. And this is related to the best product doesn't always win. So it reads like 30 spokes meet in the hub. Where the wheel isn't is where it's useful. Hollowed out clay makes a pot. Where the pot's not is where it's useful. Cut doors and windows to make a room. Where the room isn't, there's room for you. So the profit in what is in the use of what it isn't. And this is very deep once you understand it. Because it's not, uh, you can control the product. You can control the product. But what makes it useful is not what you do with the product. It's what other people do with your product. By this I mean, uh, a glass wouldn't have any value or utility if it wasn't because it allowed people to pour liquid into it to drink. The value is created by what it doesn't do, but what people actually are doing with it. So what I mean with this in product design is that I don't know if you know this website that's called Twitch. It's a kind of a Twitter with micropayments built on BSV. And the cool thing about Twitch is that there have been some other attempts like Memo or Memo, I don't know, like Memo or Instagram, but nobody cared about them. Why? I don't know. They didn't have any soul. People didn't find utility in what it is. So basically it's the same thing. It's technically very similar to what Memo was doing, but these guys aren't on a mission. They want to change things. They want to kill Twitter. They have reasons. They have reasons outside of the product why it's very encouraging for people to use this product. People have to love the product, or maybe not what you're doing, but why are you doing it? And they are very powerful by doing this. So the lesson here is that try to create something that's beyond the product that you are trying to build. It's not about the product itself. It's about
I'll show Twitch
everything else that you can produce outside of the product. And okay, I'm going to finish by showing you a great example of good product design and how, the few phases that it goes by. And I think, to me, the best user experience there is, and there's always been in mobile apps, is Uber. And I'm going to, break down the UI just to show you why. Okay, so Uber has a very clear a very clear main action, which is to call for a ride. Okay, so this gives you a lot of feedback. This is what you see when you enter the yeah. It asks you where to. So it's not like input a direction or something. It's talking to you. It's asking you where to, where you want to go, and you see all this. You see where you are in the map. So it gives you context. It shows you that there are Uber cars running around, so you know that you can be picked up very quickly. So this is telling you at one glance so much information without having to read absolutely anything. It's just a where to, but you don't even have to read. It's just one look. And then they follow up with default options. Okay, you just want to go there, and instead of many people have like drop down menus, like choose an option, and there's no default option selected. But hey, most people actually want a good value proposition option. So Uber recommends you to get Uber X. So it's the default, although they have cheaper and higher fee experiences. What they want is to give you the better value by default, in a way that you can always choose. But if you want, you can just input your destination and request the Uber X. It's a default option. It's very important for you to give default options so people don't think. Your users don't want to think when you're using they're using your product. They just want they want you to take care of them. Okay, then they give the user feedback until the main action is completed. In this case, hey, you're waiting. You have to be waiting for 2 minutes there. The Uber car is going for you. You see the face of the driver, his name, his rating, which car it is, so you don't enter the wrong car. You even see the license plate number. You can contact the driver in case that you are getting anxious because you see the driver going in the other way or something. And so this is not a crowded information site, but there's a lot of information, but it's laid out in a way, in a very elegant and clean way, where it gives you peace of mind that whatever happens during while you are waiting for the driver, you are getting take care. And once the action is completed, the user is in a good mood. Then is when you have to ask for reviews, for tips, and Uber does both things on the same screen at the same time in a way that works. And this is very difficult to accomplish, but they are making it so straightforward because they are not worrying about Uber Eats or Uber whatever inside this flow. They're not trying to sell you other stuff or distract you from the main feature. They actually enhancing the main feature all the way instead of trying to diverse your focus from it. So you have to do exactly the same. And that's it. And here are some recommended books that I think they're awesome, and they're not especially all about design. Half of them are not about design at all, but I think product design is also about being a good product designer means that you understand the market, you understand the human psychology, you understand you understand the process of how to build things. And I think these books are awesome. I will give this PDF file to George so he can share it to you in case you want to take notes now. And these are some recommended tools for developing, especially for developing apps, but also for creating mockups and websites or whatever. And we use Visual Studio Code, which is a very lightweight app for development, for app development, and it has many plugins and very useful stuff, and it's very quick and it's awesome. We found out Flutter, which is a Google framework for developing native apps. Well, you actually have one code base which is written in Dart, but you can export to native code in every platform. In iOS, Android, Linux, website, desktop, whatever, you can export it with Flutter, and it's very very fast to. It's almost as fast as making mockups. We are skipping some mockups right now with Adobe Xd by building in Flutter because it's super easy to iterate and create screens. We use Adobe Xd, which is free for your first project. It's totally free, and it's a great tool for mockup design and testing before writing any line of code. And we use Trello for organizing our team, and we get inspiration by a website called dribble.com. So if you want to find very cool design patterns and stuff, dribble.com with triple B is the way to go. And well, you can get this pitch at handcash.io/design later today. I will upload it to our website later. And that's it.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Alex.
Hey, thank you.
We did have a few chuckles while you were chatting, but we were on mute, so you didn't hear it during those times.
Okay.
But I might just turn it over to the folks here just for any questions for you. Yeah, guys, any questions?
Maybe extend with the app. Is there anything you can show already?
Sorry, say that again.
The Handcash app.
Yep.
Is the app ready or anything you can show?
Oh yes. Okay. So the question was, is the app ready? Are you talking about on iOS or just in general?
I have Android.
Oh, you have Android. Oh, so have you installed it already? It's definitely out. Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
The final version is out. We were in beta for over a year or so.
Yep.
But now we launched the final version of both apps in Android and iOS, and
Yep.
the updates are going in parallel now. So it's cool.
So yeah,
What's the feedback so far?
what's been the feedback so far, Alex?
Oh, people are loving the app, and they love how simple it is. All Bitcoiners might find that there's a few features like scanning paper wallets or making finding private keys to whatever. Those are things that we are not interested in because, as I told you, we are focused on making it easy for Carlos and not making it easy for people that are already using Bitcoin.
Yeah. So Alex, while you're talking, I'm just showing them the tweet feed for Handcash. That's probably like the best. If you just go and look up Handcash, you'll see how much love there is for Handcash right now. Of course, nothing.
Yeah.
Of course, nothing's perfect. So Alex, knows about this. Of course, there's people who find things that it's the change bit that Alex was talking about, because certain things have changed from the old. They had to. Alex, do you want to talk about how you had to completely restructure Handcash?
Well, yeah. So basically, we had two different versions because we had one native app for Android and one native app for iOS, which was already a mess for having to take care of two different versions because we had also two different Bitcoin libraries, one for each, and it was very difficult for us to keep up with the update with both, and also those libraries were not very good, and we were having lots of bugs. And the problem is that the way we were developing these apps, they were SPV wallet. One was an SPV wallet, the other one was an SPV wallet.
Yeah. Do you want to?
But the things that they connected. Huh?
Sorry, yeah, just a little bit delay. Do you want to explain the SPV? Just simply.
Oh yeah, sure. So SPV is basically it's just a way to validate transactions by without having to scan the blockchain. Well, you basically get you receive a Merkle tree, and by getting a few transactions and the hash or whatever, but it's basically a way of validating transactions, and it can be done even offline in some cases. So it's a fast way because you don't have to ask the miner over and over again to see if the transaction is valid or not. But yeah, so we had that for Android, and for iOS we had a totally different scheme, which was a native wallet, which was relying on servers. But it wasn't scalable because SPV on a mobile device was a pain in the ass. It consumes a lot of resources, and in case we have a lot of bugs, in case we have to fix a bug or something, we have to deploy an update, and people don't often update the app, and they have to scan the blockchain over and over again. Sometimes it went out of sync because the problem with that, with SPV on a mobile device, is that we cannot control the environment that it's running on. So we are not controlling, we don't have control over the hardware, we don't have control over the network if they're under an SPV, an VPN, or they're under a firewall in China, or their internet connection is very bad, or their phone doesn't have enough RAM. So those are issues that we couldn't control from our side. And users, were like, oh, my wallet cannot send money. Oh, I have a bug. I have this, I have that. So it was not scalable. So we decided just to make a huge super wallet on the cloud, which everyone was connected to with different accounts, and it's much better, much better. Also, if users have an issue with the blockchain, whatever, we can just fix it from our side. Everything's more stable, much more stable, much faster. It's easier to deploy updates because the app is super lightweight and it doesn't have any Bitcoin code inside the app. It just uses a small part of a Bitcoin library for signing transactions and for creating the private keys and all that stuff. But for the most part, what we've done is that we basically took all the complexities of Bitcoin, moved them to the cloud in a way that it's universal for everybody, and you don't have to restore your account and wait for 5 minutes until it scans the blockchain and all that shit. It didn't work. It wouldn't have scaled in human terms.
Yep. Any other questions? Yep, got a question here.
Okay, so for designers, like building a crypto exchange or a crypto wallet, do you think it would be more important for designers to focus on web apps or mobile apps for faster adoption?
Did you hear that, Alex?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think. Okay, I think this is kind of controversial because I think the future of exchanges is not either on the web or on a mobile wallet. I think it has to be an API service. We don't need even a website or whatever for an API service. But regardless, if you want to, if we focus the question on is it better to build on an app or a website, I would say for an app, although it's controversial because for some reason people here in Bitcoin and crypto, they think that because they are using laptops and desktops that people use it. But the ones that use desktops and laptops nowadays is because they work with them. But regular people like my friends, my mother, my whatever, they don't even know what a computer is anymore. And they don't use desktop or laptops or whatever. They use their phones and maybe an iPad. I think that web development is not dead, but it's almost meaningless right now at this point. But people in crypto, they like to build web apps for some reason.
Great, thanks for the answer. Great answer.
Yep.
Just to add on to his question, because I think he did mention earlier that SPP is not scalable on the mobile.
Oh, the SPV?
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's resource intensive, like looking at, especially in the ASEAN region, where not everyone has I'll say a high-end phone, and they will normally go for like entry models that cost maybe around $100 or so. So how then would you find a solution, maybe like a mobile first country solution that caters to such demand?
Yep. Did you hear that, Alex?
No.
Oh, okay. Are you hearing anything from us? Well, you heard me.
I heard the other guy. I could hear him perfectly.
All right, we're gonna get him to come closer.
Go a little bit closer.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Alex, when you mentioned about SPV, right, that it's not very scalable on mobile apps because it consumes too much resources, and looking at probably just within the region like Singapore, ASEAN, so you're seeing like emerging countries, they're using handphone devices that cost like $100. So how then do you address, like from an application standpoint, what is the best solution to cater to such markets, especially if you're talking about hand-to-hand cash transfer?
Sure.
Good question.
It's exactly what we are doing, and it's modern product design for a couple of decades now. It's been focused on moving all the heavy lifting to the cloud or to a server, whatever, and you have a very light client that only makes API calls to that service. So it's actually what we are doing now with Handcash. So Handcash, what it does now is just a UI that it asks our server with an HTTP call, like, what's my balance? Send money to this guy. I signed for the transaction. Here's the signed transaction. or what's my history, my payments history, or we are only making very lightweight calls like Twitter or whatever it does. But you again, this is something that we are not hating SPV, but we are using SPV on the cloud. But we are, instead of having a million wallets that we cannot control their environment, we have just one big fat wallet, hyper connected and very efficient, and that we can control from our side. And people are just asking, well, it's not one wallet, but it's like one wallet infrastructure, and you have your account, and you can ask things about your account from here. So we don't have your keys, but yeah, we see the UTXO sets, and we know the balance, the history, and all the stuff, because it's much more convenient that way. In the other app, it was SPV and it was super secret, whatever. It was a mess for support because we were blind when a user had an issue. We were actually super blind of what was going on. And if you go full SPV and all the transactions, whatever the history of payments is only on your phone, and you are the only one that has the UTXO set, and it's a very bad user experience in the end, because you cannot control any of those elements in a way that you cannot provide good support. You cannot fix things from your side. If there's a bug, you have to test with many phones, so you can replicate the issue, and maybe it doesn't happen, and you have to kind of be guessing and launching updates over and over again for weeks until you actually fix it. So it was a mess. So actually, and it makes a lot of sense, if you have the way that everything's moving right now is that everything's moving to the cloud, and you have very light clients. Just like with video game consoles, now Google has developed Stadia, which is basically that you have a game console on the cloud, and with any dumb phone, you can have a 4K game playing live in.
Gaming on demand, right?
Yeah.
Why? Because the game is streaming from their servers at a very high, very high speed, and you don't need to have a very good graphics card here if you can outsource that. So all technology is moving into that direction, and Bitcoin should and is moving into that direction.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, so far the projects are happening against this current. Nobody's using them, so.
Okay, yep, go for it.
So I think that I truly agree on it, because that is what Google had in mind when they first developed a laptop that just boots Chrome OS.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
exactly.
Yeah. So and I think moving on, when you talk about people actually developing more web application on the browser for crypto projects, that I agree a lot. I mean, what is the mental mindset when they decided to go for maybe web app instead of a mobile client?
I think the mindset for going for I think it's because they are willing to sell this to people that are in crypto, and people in crypto are using websites, and they know the target, or they just build it with whatever they know how to build. Now we have things like Flutter that you can export to website, to Linux, to iOS, to Android phones, to tablets. So it's not an excuse anymore. You can develop for every platform at the same time, which is what we are doing in Handcash. But until the support is better for all these other platforms, we are focusing on mobile first.
Right. So maybe just to pick your brain a little, do you think it's possible that when people build a web app, they don't necessarily have the dedicated development team to do it? So like for example, people doing POCs, like very early stage startup, they just want to prove a feature that works. So they go for the lowest hanging fruit possible, and back then they are probably just a business owner mindset. They don't necessarily have the tech expertise to start building I'll say a really solid product.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend you to go into business and rely with contractors. especially for developing these things. There are so many ways, that things can go wrong and go wrong. Like, for example, the first time that you launch an app, shit happens. Especially with Bitcoin, and you want people that that at 3 a.m. are going to be working their ass off fixing these things because it's critical for your business, and you're handling money, so it's much more important than just developing a social media platform. Uh, Again, ideally you should have all your development in house, and yeah, I think you should partner with someone and give you shares or whatever, like we did with Rafa. And now we are hiring people, but we are not saying that we are hiring them because they are not employees as such. We are adding team members. They are contractors, but they are like they are contractors in the sense that
That's the interest, right? You give them shares and all that. So
but we are not hiring people. We want people that we give them shares. We actually have a skin in the game. They care about what we are doing, and they are willing to work their ass off. So that's something that you cannot buy with a contractor. The problem with contractors is that you give them a blueprint of what you want them to build, and they just fucking do it. And that's an issue because
They don't
the end result is never satisfying, and two, it's because you want your team members and people building other stuff to actually give you feedback or be a little bit combative of I wouldn't do this way, I don't like this, I would do this the other way, or they give you input from another side. By the same thing, by the same reason, I wouldn't team up with people that have the same skill set that I have. It's much better to have a multidisciplinary team. I'm not a coder. I know how to code a little bit, but I'm mostly a business guy, marketing, branding side, product design, and Rafa is a great coder. Now we are all understanding each other more and learning from each other in all areas. But you need to someone that's very complementary to you, and inbreeding doesn't work.
all right, thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks. A question from you?
Is there a browser plugin for Handcash?
Is there a browser plugin for Handcash?
He wants a problem. Web app.
Oh no, we won't. We hate the fucking browser plugin.
Yeah, I guess it's just being honest. So I guess the question is why?
Well, there's no Google extension for Handcash, right?
Yeah. Okay, so like, are you using any other wallets that are through browser extensions right now?
Well, I'm using MetaMask.
Ah,
Oh, you should download their app. They got a mobile app now, right now. Beta.
MetaMask.
MetaMask, there's a beta mobile app. I just downloaded it today.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Alex, you want to explain how you get around the need for a Google extension, or a
Chrome
plugin,
extension.
or a Chrome extension browser?
I think this relates to the same way of because these Bitcoin developers are all day in their desktops and they use Chrome extensions. That doesn't mean that most people use Chrome extensions. So it's depending on your target audience. I don't like Chrome extensions at all. There are a few that I use for mass following, Twitter, whatever. Some are useful, but I cannot expect my mother or my friends to use Chrome extensions because they don't. They mostly only install this one that blocks the ads.
Ad blocker. Yeah.
Ad blocker, yeah.
Do you want to?
But for the most part, I think there are more elegant ways of solving things, but it's like QR codes. QR codes are like the engineer lazy way of having interconnectivity between two devices, but that doesn't mean it's the best solution. It's just it works and you don't have to do much work. But if you want to create a good user experience, you can go beyond what QR codes can offer you. And if you see good products like Apple Pay Samsung Pay, Google Pay, all these pay options, they are not settling for QR codes like in China. They're not. It's an ugly experience, and people don't understand when they're looking for a QR code. You don't know if that's going to lead you to an offer, to a picture of a dog, to a porn video. You have no idea what you're going to look to see after when you scan the QR code. Also, you don't know if that's going to, if you have to send money there, if the money is going to be sent to you. You don't have a clear context unless someone explains it to you, or you have to read a lot of things of, you have to send the only BSV to this QR code. And people, send Bitcoin, okay, BCA, BTC, whatever. And they lose money, it's a fucking...
I mean, do you think this ties in, though, to your, to Connect, Handcash Connect?
Yeah, that's something that we will talk about.
Okay. So there's other solutions, I guess, that...
There are many solutions to...
Yeah.
Just now you mentioned about API solutions, possibly. Are you guys thinking about building additional features along those lines?
Did you hear that?
Well, George just spoiled it, but yeah.
My bad. We'll cut that out of the recording. Yes. That's so that's.
But yeah, we are working on better way to build Bitcoin apps. I don't want to give. I don't want to give away.
Yes, the pipeline.
Let's just say they got some cool shit. They got some cool shit in the background.
It's a bit hard for me to.
Yeah, and there's many.
Is that
Okay, so he said it's a bit hard to visualize. Is like the best way of looking at this sort of like Slack approach. You know how they have their interface and then they got their API and it connects to everything else.
Yeah, exactly. That's
Slack, but with Handcash style.
We like let's say we like the approach. It's different. It's different. It's very different from that, but in a sense, it comes from the same essence and the same way of thinking. Yeah.
So those transactions that currently occur on Handcash can be made via another service through an API. Is that right?
Sorry, I didn't.
He was saying so. The transactions that are happening through Handcash via the API. Will that then take place through the other services that are connected through the API?
I don't know if I understand the question. Can you frame it in another way?
Do you want to come closer?
So would you say that other services can kind of like value add on top on the transactions that are going through Handcash, but those are separate products, right? Linked through API services?
Okay, so basically these APIs, what we'll do is that you can leverage all of our experience, all of our infrastructure, and everything that we have for cloud infrastructure, you can basically tap into it. And so for example, all transactions will be for VIP 270, straight out of the box, and the fees will be very, very low, and I don't know how to go deeper into this without giving away too much.
Sorry.
Yeah, but we are working on a better way of building Bitcoin apps. Let's just say that, and that will take leverage our infrastructure. That it's we have the client side, which is the wallet and Pop and other apps that we are going to build. Then we have this cloud money infrastructure that we are calling it cloud money. It's our, it's a brain that handles all the UTXOs and all the UTXO calls and VIP 270, all the extensions, all that crazy stuff is handled here. So we have kind of a middle layer which connects all our apps to the cloud money. So basically, this thing that connects one thing to another is what we are going to be making available for others in a very user friendly way. Let's say that friendly, because you don't have right now. If you want, there are two there are two products right now. If you can call them products. You can call the buttons, like fast button, the money button, the relay button, and all these buttons. You can just group them into the buttons category, so you have the buttons, and then you have the protocols for creating Bitcoin apps, and you have like Planaria, and you have data pay, and unplanned area, and there are many of these protocols. We found a Bitcoin product that's the best of both worlds, but enhanced on steroids. And it's just by trying to figure out what kind of product we want to create instead of trying to replicate what's already out there. And it's great because we are actually building something that we will use ourselves for our apps. So I think it's pretty cool.
So I guess it kind of fosters like integration to create a whole ecosystem, right? Where you kind of leverage each other's resources.
Yeah, did you hear that, Alex? Yeah,
No,
he said that like it's kind of forcing the creation of an ecosystem.
well, you can say it's forcing, but
Not forcing, fostering.
Oh, it's
Fostering.
fostering. Sorry, fostering. Fostering, not forced.
Oh, okay. No, I was going to say that. I mean, we're not forcing anybody. We just, you can just plug into our stuff. Yeah. We are actually. We think that. Okay. There's one pattern that we like. So, but this is deeper. This goes to marketing. If you see great companies are always have the same structure, which is a vertical ecosystem. Disney does this. IKEA, Apple, Tesla, Nike, all these big brands. You have always this vertical ecosystem that dominates the category, and then you have all the competitors, which are horizontal people that just create products. So we want to be one of those vertical. We want to be that vertical company for Bitcoin, and we've already been assembling all the parts of the vertical. We already have all of them. It's just a matter of connecting all of them, and yeah. The good thing, if you go to IKEA, for example, and you buy furniture from IKEA, they take care of the warranty. In the store, you already have if you need, I don't know the word for that thing, the screws or whatever you need from them. You have everything in house, and you have all the services that they offer, like sending it to your home and building the furniture for you, and they design, create the furniture, they transport the furniture, they sell the furniture, they control the price. They have these beautiful rooms already set up with all their products. Everything is IKEA. That's a vertical ecosystem. Or if you think about Tesla, they have the supercharger network. They build the cars. They build the batteries. They build the solar panels. I think you understand the theme. So we are basically willing to have everything that we need in the vertical for Bitcoin, and that way we can afford to have a much greater control of the user experience, the customer support. We can ensure that there's no risk at all of double spends. We can make the transactions much faster, much cheaper. We can control every side of Bitcoin if we just focus on having this vertical ecosystem. So that's where we are heading. It's not that we are going to lock people inside our ecosystem, because we won't. I mean, you have Paymail and you have all these other things, but we want to create a coherent experience throughout all the Handcash ecosystem that we are trying to build. we want it to feel great whatever, no matter the product that you're using at that stage. No matter if you are a developer or you are a user or you're a company interested in adopting this technology for certain stuff, we want to provide a unified user experience.
Cool. Any other questions for? Oh yeah, one more.
So like, how do you compete in markets that are saturated with payment services? Because in Singapore, like even on my app, I have my bank app, basically Pay Now. It's a payment system by itself, and I use Grab quite often as well to travel around, and they have Grab Pay. So what is the distinct advantage from getting people to switch to hand cash?
Oh, the thing is that we are, the best way is that we are not competing with them at all. I mean, we are not interested in retail payments. Right now, we are focused on micro payments and connecting your life to, basically connecting your lifestyle with money. It's, we. I don't want to.
Because
we're working with George on developing this concept of what we are trying to do, because it's very different from everything that's out there. But basically, we are not willing to compete with Alipay or any of these kind of forms, because I don't think there's a need for it. I mean, they work perfectly. They already have a network effect. You don't pay any fees. It's very easy for topping up and doing all this stuff. But we are going to make it as easy using Bitcoin as that. And once you are, and we may have that conversation in the future once we solve all the issues that right now happen with Bitcoin in the way that Bitcoin works right now and the ecosystem. Once the ecosystem is ready, then we might be able to retake this conversation. But I think people have to earn this money first.
Yeah, there's this concept, at least in the Bitcoin ecosystem, of right now everybody's looking at the trading bit and gambling, etc. But this is why there's a lot of foundational things taking place. And the idea is to get people into this ecosystem so that they're, I think we were talking about Twitch before, right? Like where you're earning for simply participating in the digital universe, right?
Yeah.
And it will be thought differently to how we see it now. Because right now we are comparing to the world that we live in, but the way that things are developing, and I'll take you guys through Twitch Up and some of the other things. It's just, I think because there's nothing visual and yet, or nothing that is uptaken, as Alex said, in the future, we'll revisit the question,
I think the common thing is because my bank is actually, my money is tied to my bank.
Yep.
So when I have to use the app.
Yep, correct.
And Grab owns the largest, I would say, ride-sharing market in the whole of Southeast Asia.
Yep.
So that's very unlikely that I will not use Grab at least once.
Yeah, exactly.
So so that's where the angle I'm going on. It's like something that ties to my lifestyle, that has reliance on the app itself. Yeah.
So Alex, in Singapore, I mean, shit works pretty well in Singapore. Everything is pretty smooth, from like top to bottom, left to right. So I think I have seen in Singapore, right, where even general crypto, it's like, what's the need for me to use these things? Because shit works in Singapore,
Where it doesn't work is that your beautiful banking apps that you have in your country, or the one that we have in our country, they don't talk to each other. And you cannot connect them to your apps and games. And, there are many business models that you can build with thanks to microtransactions, like micro-subscriptions, or what we call vigilante transactions. We'll explain that in the future. But there are many new business models that you can create with microtransactions that, you're providing real value to people. And at the same time, you're giving them another income source, and that has to be connected to all their existing payment apps and banks and whatever. In the end, we don't want Handcash to hold any funds.
Yep.
We don't. We are not a bank, and we don't want to hold people's money and get all those licenses. And no, we are happy if we are just connecting your money with your lifestyle and with neat ways for you to make some money on the side.
Yep.
When you talk about microtransactions, is this like 3 or 4 cents, or like, so obviously you have to use the sort of like the Lightning and all these other networks to make it like feasible
For BTC.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, microtransactions can be something like, a quarter of a cent or a tenth of a cent or per second, per minute. A payment channel that's open for 10 cents per month, and if you at 10 in 10 days you want to close the channel, you get you only pay 3.3 cents. So you can do all these kind of things that, although they look small, with volume, volume is what matters here. The problem with something like Patreon is that the fees are so high with Patreon, and the minimum payments are so high that you may be willing to support 20 creators that you follow, monthly, some 2 or 3 podcasts, 4 or 5 YouTube channels, someone that writes blogs, someone on Twitter or Instagram celebrity. You might be willing to give them something every month, on a regular basis. But the threshold right now, the bar is too high to start there. The entry barrier is too high. So imagine if instead of spending $20 per month for paying to Stefan Molyneux, you can pay $20 spread across 60 different people, and instead of you might find that instead of having 1 people doing this every 100 people, you might have like 20 people for every 100 people doing this kind of patronizing. I think it's all about volume.
Awesome.
Yep.
Thanks,
Cool.
man.
So, what are some priority industries you think could really benefit from the services that you are providing? As we know, in some industries, like news media websites, right? Like free market doesn't really work as well, right? If you want to read an article, you can't just pay for an article. Sometimes you have to buy an entire web subscription service. But whereas you have microtransactions, can help you resolve some of these existing problems. So other than like this example, what other industries do you think are the priority ones, whether it has the largest value propositions or whether it has the greatest incentive to adopt this new technology?
Yeah, well, I think the problem is that most companies, and Twitch included, and this is something that I discussed with them, and is that you cannot just get a business model that, not just a business model, but a user experience and a business model that works for free apps, and try just to add some payments inside and expect for it to work properly. Maybe paying for a like doesn't make any sense at all. Maybe what makes sense is that you create creators into your revenue stream, and you are rewarded by being a content curator. I think that's something that could work. Or maybe, for example, the problem with Wi-Fi networks is that most people don't, some people don't trust them, or it's very difficult to get in. But what if you had an app that could connect to Wi-Fi networks, and it's a very strong connection and very private and whatever. The only condition is that you are connecting your Handcash app, and if all the authentication is done with one click, and you are paying by the second for the connection or for the megabytes or for whatever reason. But I mean, those are the kind of very interesting business models that I want to see flourish with this technology. Also, imagine with video games, there are people that they have aspirations of making money. Sorry, I have to.
Oh yeah,
my phone. I think I should go.
Yes, no worries. Yes, we've gone way, over time. So Alex, yeah. Thanks, man.
I'm sorry for leaving the question like this.
That's okay.
Anyway, thank you, guys.
Yes, Alex, all the best. We will speak soon.